Picked up some more constitutional or junk silver from my local coin shop. So let's see if we got any goodies today. Hey everybody, it's Rob of the Rob Finds Treasure, and since you guys seem to be enjoying my LCS pickups or junk silver buys, I figured I would do another video today. I picked up a whole bag of Mercury Dimes. I want to say there's about 235 dimes, Mercury Dimes in here, as well as some SLQs, some Barber Dimes, a few Barber Halfs. Nothing great. Most of them are in bad condition, at least in this bag, but I figured I'd still hunt for it. Maybe we could find something key, like one of these dates here for the Barbers, or one of these dates here for the Mercury Dimes. Anyway, there's a lot to look at. So what I'm going to do first is get the SLQs, Barber Halfs, and Barber Dimes stacked by type. And then we'll take a look at what kind of dates and mints we got in there. So we've got the quarter dollars, or the old quarters, situated by type. There was in that junk bin a cleaned 1875. Most likely Philadelphia. We'll never know. Common. If it was the Carson City, not common. But it's cleaned. Still, 1875 Seated Liberty, no problem. It's a shame it's been cleaned though, because that date's popping. But they tried to make it look better than it should be. I wanted to show that. Now let's move on to the Barber Quarters. Alright, so as expected, no key dates or semi-key dates for the Barbers, but we did find an early first year, 1892, Philadelphia. Take it. A 1902, and this one's a San Francisco. I know it's not the best condition, of course, but we'll take a 1902 S. If you're going to get a 1902 in a junk bin, the S is the one you want because it is the more valuable of the 1902 years. 1902 S, 1.5 million minted. It's $14 in G4, and because you can read it, this is probably almost G4, and I'll take it anyway. We also got a 1907 Philadelphia, not bad shape. A couple of 1908s. One's pretty toasty, but we got a Denver mint, and I believe another Denver mint. Got a 1909 Philadelphia. Got a couple of 1914s. A Philadelphia and another Philadelphia. We got a 1915 Denver. And then we got 4 1916s. 2 are Philadelphia and 2 are Denver. So, cool pickups. I'll have to see if any of these upgrade in my album or add to the album. Now that we've done that, let's move on to the Standing Liberty Quarters. And I will point out that there's 2 variety types. In 1916 and 1917, they made variety 1, which is this one right here. No stars below the eagle. Variety 2, which started in 1917 to 1930, there's 3 stars. So I always look for Standing Liberty Quarters with no variety, because then we know it's either a 16 or a 17, even if there's no date. We'll get to more on this one in a second, but only one was the non-3 star example. So I figured I'd start with the variety 2 first, which is going to be 1917 through 1930. In 1917 through 1924, however, it's what's called a pedestal date. And if you grab a coin, the date sits on a pedestal, but it was raised so the date rubbed off easy. In 1925, they made it more of a recessed date, which is why when you look at Standing Liberty Quarters from 1925 to 1930, you can see the dates a lot better than the earlier ones. It's unfortunate because a lot of times you're going to get coins that you can't even read a date on and you don't know what year it is, which is a shame. That being said, these are my dates that I can read, 1925 through 1930, which is expected. There's really no key dates in the Standing Liberty Quarter years from 25 through 30, except for a 27D or a 27S. These are my 1927s. I checked them all, couldn't see a mint mark, so we don't have any of the semi-keys in the 1927 year. They made less than 1 million of the 27D and less than 400,000 of the 27S. We didn't get any. These are all the coins I can't see a date on, so they could be anywhere, technically, because they have the 3 stars on the bottom, which is variety 2, from 1917 to 1924. So these I have no mint mark and no legible date. These ones have no legible date, but they're all Denver mints. And if I zoom in, you can clearly see a D on that one, D on that one, and a D on that one. So I need to work on these a little bit to see if I can get a date off them. But regardless, they're Denver mints, anywhere from 1917 through 1930. These two actually have a San Francisco mint. And if I go down, see that beautiful S right there? And I think I can get a date on that one, which is why it's over here. I think it's a 1924 S. This one also has an S, but that date is worn flat. So on the variety one with the no stars below the eagle, like I said, there's only a 16 and a 17, and you're really looking for the 1916. Only 52,000 of those minted. It's worth thousands, but this is dateless. But we do know it's either a 16 or a 17, and I believe there is a D that you can barely make out, and I'll show you under the microscope, but I believe there's a D right next to the star. Let's put it under the microscope so I can shake less and see if I can show you that a little bit better. And there you go. That's looking more like a D than an S. That's where the mint mark would be, and I believe that's a D. And the only 1916 or 17 that has a mint mark that has the letter D is a 1917. So I'm pretty certain this is a 1917 Denver, which I already have. So, won't do us any good. Maybe I'm seeing things and it's not a mint mark, but I'm pretty certain that's a Denver mint mark right there. There's definitely a mint mark, and it definitely doesn't have the characteristics of an S. Still, we have it already. I'll take it though. Anytime you get a variety one score, you'll always take it. Now that we've got the dateless with no mints and dateless with mint marks set aside for a later examination, we're going to move on to the half dollars. There's only 3 Barber half dollars here, and none of those are key dates, but we'll check them for mints. So you know what? I'll take it. We actually got a 1902 S and a 1902 S. Only 1.5 million minted. So the best of the 1902 year that you can get. We also got a 1908. Not that bad a shape. Looks like it might have been cleaned. It has an O mint mark, New Orleans. And of the 1908 year, this was the most produced coin. So, but they're all same value. And then of course we've got a 1914. And a 1914S actually has less than a million minted. Still pretty common in this grade, which isn't that great, but I will take it. All 3 had a mint mark, and you can't get mad at that. Now let's see what kind of Barber Dimes we have. So we've got the Barber Dimes laid out by year. We got 4 1898s, a 1901, a 1902, a 1903, one 1904, a couple of 07s, 3 08s, 4 09s, 3 11s, handful of 12s, couple of 13s, handful of 14s, 1 15, and a handful of 16s. Because we have 4 in 1898, and I got my red book out just so I can familiarize myself, in G4, which is probably what we can hope for on these, really the one you're looking for is either an S mint or obviously an 1898 O. Even in G4, it's 12 bucks. Got to remember, I paid $1.25 at my LCS for these. $1.25. 12.5 times face today on Barber Dimes. Not too bad. I know people pay around $2 for Mercury Dimes minimum, so I'm pretty happy with the buy. I basically paid junk silver price, maybe a dime over. That being said, I already checked the mint marks on these 4. 2 are Philadelphia's. I'm happy about these 2 though, because unfortunately for the scratching, and just ignore the scratching for a second, this is a pretty nice Barber Dime from 1898. And more importantly, it's an O. So an 1898 O, 2.13 million minted, $12 in G4, and it flies up after that. It's unfortunate though, because this would probably be very good 8, maybe F12, if it wasn't for the scratches. That's just a bummer. And that's probably a machine roller that did that. But it's a nice 1898 O besides the scratches. This one's also an 1898 O. Not as nice details, but definitely a G4. It does have a pretty good deep scratch right there by the mouth and the chin. As you can see, a couple scratches there. But still, 1898 O, 2.13 million minted. I got 2 of them. So pretty happy about that. I'm sure one of those will upgrade in my book. As far as the 1901, it is a key date if it's an S. 1901 though, this is an O. And that's very common. 1903 though is also a key date if you can have an S mint mark. And this one's trashed. And I don't see a mint mark on it. Let's put it under the microscope. I don't think we're going to get one anyway. So that's hard to tell. We've got some damage here. The mint mark would be right in this location right here. And because we've got some damage here, so I've worked on it a little bit. I know it kind of still looks like, if you're looking for a mint mark under a microscope, sometimes damage looks like one. But at the end of the day, if we really just look at that, it's just damage. There's no mint mark there. So this is a 1903 Philadelphia minted Barber dime, almost 20 million minted, very common. On the 1904, again, you're looking for an S mint, and this one has no mint. So common as well. Once you move in 1907, really, until you get to 1913, there's really no value in any of the mint marks. Maybe a buck more if you had a mint mark that's an S. So we're going to go right to 1913, which is right here. We have 2 of those. And really, we're hoping for a S mint mark, only 500,000 minted. We've got a Philadelphia and a Philadelphia. So no lucky score there. I know there might be other errors and varieties I could look for, but I'm not doing that right now. I just want to give you a quick synopsis of what we found in the Barber Dimes. Now I'm going to take 5 seconds to compare them to what I have in my album and see if I update any. Well, we got to add quite a few Barber Dimes to my album and update a few, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'll show you guys that later, but now it's time to sort. Oh, we got a Rosie in there. Now it's time to sort out the Mercury Dimes by decade. So as expected, handful in the teens, a little bit more in the 20s, even more in the 30s, and the majority in the 40s. But you know what? That's a pretty good amount of 30s as well. And I'll take what we got here as diversity. We're going to start with the teens first, see if we have any 1916 Ds. I doubt it, but we'll go through them and lay them out and see what we find in the teens. So we got 116, a handful of 17s, 2 18s, and 2 19s. The 16, unfortunately, without a doubt, has no mint mark. At least you could see it clearly. No mint mark. In 1917, we did get a couple of Denvers. And fortunately enough, the nicest of the 17 year is a 1917 Denver. And it's worth a few bucks more than had it been a regular 1917. And it's not in terrible shape. So happy with that. We also got another 17D, but it's not as nice. So I'm sure this will probably upgrade in my album. In 1918, we got 1 Philadelphia mint and 1 S mint. In 1919, we got a Philadelphia and an S. So no great scores. This 17D in G4 condition is 450, and this is better than G4. It's probably more like between a VG8 and an F12, which will put it right around 6 to 10 bucks. Paid $1.30 for it. Happy with that one. Let's move on to the 20s and see if we can get lucky and get another 26S again. For 1920, we got a P and an S. 23, we got all P's. 24, all P's. 25, we got 2 P's, a D and an S. 26, we got 4 P's and 1 D. No S this time. 27, no P, but we got a D and an S. 28, we got a handful of P's, a D and an S as well. And in 29, we got a handful of Philadelphia and 1 Denver. I'll be checking against my album, see if I can upgrade or add any, and then move on to the 30s. So for the Mercury Dimes in the 30s, we didn't get any 1930s or 1931s. Obviously, those years, they were really low minted. They're hard to find. And then they didn't make any Mercury Dimes in 32 or 33. So we got 34 on, but we got 34s, and we got P's and D's. And then we got PDSs for all the other years in the 30s. I saw a couple of pretty nice dimes in here, not with full bands, but really close. So as I go through these myself, I'll see if I upgrade my album. And then we'll move on to the 40s, and I've got some great 40s. So I'm only going to be checking for the 42 variety, 42 over 41, and the 42D variety, 42 over 41. And the 45s, I should say, I'll be looking for the micro S as well. It has some value, especially if it's in high grades. So I'll finish up these, and then I'll pull out the 42s and the 45s, and we'll be checking for some varieties. So of all the coins in the 40s, we only have a handful of Philadelphia 42s and Denver 42s for the 2 over 1 variety, and then only a couple, 3, of the S45s for the micro S. If I find anything, I'll loop you in. Otherwise, I'll give you a wrap up. So as luck would have it, no 42 or 41s for either the Philadelphia or Denver mint, but still a lot of fun. You know, at the end of the day, we didn't score any key dates. We did find some pretty nice coins that I could add to the collection. We also found some duds, but that's part of junk silver buying, is you're looking for that one lucky find, but you're hoping to fill your albums as well. Hopefully you enjoyed this junk silver purchase with me and kind of going through what I'm looking for. If you're enjoying me doing these LCS pickups, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And as always, everyone, happy hunting, and thanks for watching.